In the previous movie, we animated basic walk cycle, head, body, and legs, and that was it. I'm working in KRITA. It's a free animation program. Link in the notes below. I recommend you try it if you haven't already. It does a lovely job of doing hand-drawn animation with no bells and whistles, so you focus directly on the art of animation. It does a great job here of hitting the right frame rate, and you see my timing charts on the top right. So this is how it would be done back in the day on paper and pencils. I want to get you as close to that as we can. But let me quickly run through this thing, the file. So the file is also linked in the notes below if you want to follow along. So we have our different layers here. So what I want to do is merge these, right-click here, and merge. There it is, merge with the layer below. And I'll call this one foot positions. We have the rough animation. I'm going to call that legs now. And we have this called paint layer, and that's my notes here. So I'm just going to call that notes. And I want to make a new layer for the arms. Hit this little plus, call this one arms. And the other thing I want to do, because we're working on layers, I want to put the arm animation on its own layer so we don't wreck the leg layer beneath. I want this leg layer to be a different color. So right click on that and go layer style, color overlay, and we go to normal. And we can just pick any color from the color wheel, or if you have one here, I like light blue, go to there. And now when we play, you'll see it's flickering blue, black. So hit stop, and this effects button here, if you see this glitch, you might not see it, click it off and on. And now when we play, the cache has been corrected, and now we have this beautiful blue color, like we drew it with a blue pencil. And we can switch that off anytime we want. So select the arm layer, make sure we're on the arm layer here. These little three lines here, make sure clip start is set to 1, and now we push this button, and this switches our timeline layer to animated mode. So now as we draw, we can create new animation frames. So what I want to do, because this is a cycle starting at 1 and going back to 1 here to here, is to clone this from here to there. So hold on Alt or Option and drag and drop it there. And you'll see that we have these little diagonal lines, and what that means is that this is a duplicate. So anytime I click a new drawing, that will go off. Anytime you're on a clone drawing, it'll line up however many times it's cloned. This is a great way to do animation cycles. The other thing too, if you don't see this animation timeline, it's under Settings, Dockers, Animation Timeline, and that opens up this animation process to you. So now let's go in and we will just zoom out a bit and let's draw the hand. And I have my custom brushes here. Again, the links to how to make these are in the notes below, but let's just go with that. Very lightly just block in the basic forms of the hand, and then we have our hand set up roughly where we want it. I would not be too picky about your hand drawing, just enough to get the basic forms, because again, we can be changing this quite a bit. So if you do a beautiful hand drawing, very good chance that was a waste of your time. So this is already even more than enough. So let's do that. And the other thing to remember is counterpose. Oh, let me switch off the layers we don't need. So if I select this tool here, I can move. You can do the same things in Photoshop if you follow along in Photoshop too, where you can take a layer like this and slide it around. Now we have a principle called counterpose. In a walk cycle, if the right hip is back, the right shoulder is forward, and vice versa. So what I'm doing is, you wouldn't want the hip to be there because now they're both on the same side. He's a bit off balance, unless you want them off balance, but in general you won't. So we'll move this as forward as we think we can get away with. I like a little sliver here. Because I have this tool now, it does give us some leeway, some flexibility. I can even rotate it a little bit if I just want to push it a bit more, which is nice. It does jag the lines a little, so I'll just freshen them up slightly. So that is number 1. And the other thing that we can do, if we want, we could like draw separate timing charts on each one of these, but I'm just going to follow the original timing charts that we had for the moment anyway on the body. But I will put like a little frame number on there so we don't get lost. Now, if I go to the clone drawing, that is also there. So let's say I go to the first drawing and give him a bit of a nose. It's on the second one too, so let's take that off. So the next thing to do is go to the next contact pose, and that'll be here. And if I start drawing, this will be the hand in this back position now. If I start drawing, it just automatically creates a new empty drawings. That's the nice thing about having this tool selected. Let's put it roughly blocked in, the basic form. And if you're drawing a hand, like think of it as a box. So it's like you have a tubular wrist like this, and then you've got the main body of the palm, and then think of the fingers as mittens. Like imagine they're like a continuous mitten, and then you can break it up, and you can think of the thumb as a teardrop shape like that, at least for this kind of style. And get rid of that. So that's what I'm doing with this fella. And again, because I am working on a layered system, if I were drawing on one layer, then I'm basically drawing over all of this material here, which you can do, but the problem with that is that if you make a mistake, it's a lot of erasing and redrawing. It could be a real nuisance. Now the counterpose on this, we have the right hip forward, then the right shoulder will be tilted back a bit. And we want to make sure that we have sort of a nice negative shape. The danger here is that it's kind of getting a little cluttered. So I'll see if I can get away with sliding it to there. And now we have like a nice negative shape in here. Could be stronger, but that's not bad. And let's just tie this down a bit. And now if I go from this drawing to there, we need to make sure that we're not losing too much volume on the arm, and I think it's all right. Okay, so I will also do the bit of housekeeping where I draw the frame number. The next thing will be to do the passing pose, and that'll be this one here. That's the halfway point between both of them. If I put the notes back on, if you watch the first movie, you'll remember we plotted out the position of the heels here, and you track it all the way through to make sure it's spaced evenly frame by frame. Otherwise, if you pan the character across the screen, you'll get foot slippage, which you really don't want, especially if you're doing something for like a computer game. That would look awful. Anyway, we have position here for the passing, and this is kind of the tricky one because it's going to be sort of blocking the feet. So let's just rough that in there for now. Now I've set up keyboard shortcuts that toggle between keyframes, and again, settings, configure KRITA, keyboard shortcuts, and they're under the animation. And I've set up next keyframe and previous keyframe to be A and S. And I have F1 and F2 set up to go frame by frame. I like these shortcuts, but whatever shortcuts you're hardwired to use, you use that. But just so you know, when you see me doing this, this is what I'm triggering. So let's make sure that when we have this passing position, that we're not blocking the drawing too much, because this is going to be obscuring the foot. We can bring the hand up a bit, we can move it this way, but there's only so far we can take this without completely breaking the animation. So we are limited. This is one of the things that I know drives purists crazy, because I know of one very, very good animator. She worked on Secret of Nim, and she got so disgusted with having to make compromises to her drawings. I think it just put her off animation for a while. Sometimes we just have to suck it up and put up with a drawing that doesn't look exactly how we would like, because it just moves better. So we try the best we can with this one, and the one consolation is it's going to be going by the eye like very quickly, so you will barely notice it. We will feel the foot moving by. And in the previous movie too, I did comment that I was losing a bit of volume on these feet, and I'm not going to fix that on this pass, but see how these feet are getting a bit too small, then a bit bigger. So I'm going to repair that in a future movie, but just so you know, I noticed it. Okay, so anyway, we have the passing position here. Now we do the same thing on the way back again. Now, I was promising myself that I wouldn't do anything too fancy on such a introductory walk cycle, but I'm going to try something here. It's called breaking the joint. And you see here how we have the arm is in this position, and then we go here and the arm is in this position. So what I want to do is change that a little bit and see if we can get away with something very cheaty. So if I start drawing here and we break the joint like this. So when you see the Looney Tunes cartoons, the really loose stuff, and even a lot of the really wilder like stuff from Disney, they did a lot of this. I first found out about this from Eric Goldberg's animation notes, which became the basis of his book. I think it's the Quick Start Guide, very good book. It originated as a hand-drawn Xerox copy that somebody brought into the Don Bluth studio in Dublin. They had worked for him or knew somebody who worked for him. And it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. I still have my printout copy here. To be brutally honest, I think I learned more from that handout than I did, or at least as much as I did actually working in the Bluth studio in Dublin for 4 years. That's how good that thing was. I don't have a sponsor, so if you want to support my work and help it to continue, you can subscribe to my Patreon. I'm making new animation projects week by week and providing animation assets that can be downloaded and used. I also have a very large collection of tutorials in the LinkedIn Learning Library covering animation and design, and I'm putting all the links to these in the notes below. So, but anyway, one of the things he mentioned was this breaking of joints. So it's a leading action, and a leading action doesn't have to break a joint, but this is a leading action on the elbow where it actually breaks the joint. Now the danger here is the spacing, because we have this wrist position here, and then we have the wrist position here, and then a big gap here. Now we have these many frames between here and here. So if we're not careful, this might stick. So one thing that I do want to do is just maybe move the pivot to here and just maybe move it forward a bit. And that'll give us just a bit more room to play with. Now the danger is that the elbow will stick. So it does create these other issues. So let's see if I can just pull it back a little bit and just play around here. Let's see. brush, erase, and I'm going to move the upper part forward just a little bit. Okay, so let's go with that for now and play through. So obviously we're seeing the right arm move out of sync with the body because we don't have the in-betweens done or the low positions. So let's do that next. We'll block in the low points. So from here, so I'm going to go to drawing number 4. That's highlight here in green. That's the down position. One thing that I like to do to help my brain navigate these timelines is use color codes. The reason why I use green for the low point is grass grows on the ground, so grass is low. And I use blue for the high point because the sky is blue, therefore high. So you use these stupid mnemonic devices to help you remember why you pick different colors. Red for breakdowns, gray for keyframes. So hence this. I'll change the colors here later. So anyway, we're going to do the down pose, and let's just start sketching. Now, one thing that we have access to, of course, is the onion skin, thankfully. So, you know, if you're having problems like figuring out at this point, you know, how these things relate to one another, this might help. We have a couple of options on this point. We could keep this simple, but we could also on the down point bring the hand up like this. So we go from here to there and then down. It increases the range of motion then too on the swing. It also increases the complexity a little bit. And let's just do it. So it really, I don't think it's that much difficult. But if you wanted to keep the walk simple, you would just do a in between. So we'll bring the arm down just a little. And here's where the complexity comes in. So I'm having to change the angle of the arm to make the anatomy work here. So, and if I feel this is just going to be too much effort, again, I will chicken out and go back to the default. But I want you to see the process of doing like a full kind of classical animation here. Okay, I think we can get away with it. Let's switch off the onion skin. That's making life tricky. And I don't think we're gaining volume or too much volume. We could also thin out the arm a little bit. If it was gaining too much mass, then we could do that. I think the hand is, look at the hand, it's getting bigger. See that? That's an absolute gain in volume. Now, if we're back in 1989 and this happens, I have to get the eraser tool and rub this out. Here, I can just grab the lasso tool. So even though I'm trying to encourage you to get back to like a lot of the classic drawing stuff, I'm not shy for using the digital tools where we can actually use them and not be used by them. So that's a case where it's a perfect analog for an old school technique of cutting and pasting or redrawing, and it just saves us precious seconds of our irreplaceable lives. So let's go to the next down position here, because this will be again slightly same principle. We can do the same thing. We could, if we want to, go from here to there, and actually we might, because this is where the break comes in. If I overshoot again to here, let me put the onion skin on. So let's say we just do a little recoil on the hand there like this. It does give us more spaces between these two, so less chance of the arm sticking on the way down. Let's do that. Let's just go for it. Be brave. Okay, onion skin off now, so we can actually see the motion properly. And I think we'll get away with this, and that looks pretty good. And again, see my light strokes. I'm not going in for like a mad detail drawing or anything. That's more than enough to get us on. And then the next one, let's actually play through and see what that feels like. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad at all. So now we go to the high points, and we can't have fancy stuff all over the place. So let's just give ourselves a break on this. So here we're going from the passing position to that. So we can just do a basic in between. Make sure I might be gaining a bit of volume on this hand now that I look at it. Look at the size of that hand, size of this one, size of that one. I think it's definitely, he's been eating donuts or something. Okay, here we go. That's better, especially if we're going to be doing a bunch of in-betweens. If you make a volume mistake on this drawing and you do all the in-betweens, each one of these in-betweens will be wrong. So this is why you want to make sure at this point that we get the volumes right. So here again, I'm just going to, this is throwing us because we have the previous drawing is held until we put in a blank drawing. If you want to, we can click here and that'll put in a blank. But I just like to start drawing and then it creates it. So I want the onion skin on for this. So we're going from the red one into this one. So from red to green. The shoulder, however, will be going higher. So the angle of the arm will change on this. So we want to make sure that we're not strictly like in betweening the parts that should be moving outside of that. But I think the best thing to do is like straighten out the arm on this. And the other thing too, we can cheat as well a little bit. The old shift and trace technique of sorts, where I just trace over the line here, select the tool, and then just move it and then we can shift, rotate, and I think I'll just make it a slight favor of the where we're going to, because we'll be easing into that. It's like a pendulum swinging back and forward. We don't want it sticking at the bottom. If it's going to stick anywhere, it'll be sticking on the up part of the pendulum cycle. So D to deselect and onion skin off. And I think that means too I should probably redraw some of this. And so we have a nice lengthening of the arm there, and then it breaks a little bit here. Again, not the strongest drawing that I would like. So I think what I'm going to do is bring that hand back a little bit. Oh dear, what happened there? So that's easy to happen. Bring it over, enter, deselect, and the lower arm too, because again this is a rough layer, so we can be a bit choppy with it. All right, so that looks a little better. So let's play through again. Hey ho, not too bad. So let's do the other one here, and this is going from we've broken the limb, and now he's easing into this one here. So we're going to go from here to there. Again, I'll just start drawing, and I'll put onion skin on here too, and start drawing on the right frame. Same thing too, the shoulder should be higher than the rest. I want to continue the break at least onto here, but it should be kind of wearing off pretty quick. It should feel like a snap. So one thing I might do when I see the spacing, I think I'm losing some of the pendulum. Like if you see where this is here and this line is there, and if I put this one here, so we're going from, this is number 19 and this is number 22 and this is number, well, 25 or number 1 cycle back. So it's going to stick here. So we're going to have 2 in-betweens there and then here. So that's not a pendulum. A pendulum should be doing something like this. So there's definitely something wonky here. So I think the solution to this is to do an overlap on the elbow. Let me just select this, Control T, pivot from here, and let's do that. So the actual elbow overshoots. And now we can just delete that part. And so I want the hand, it has to be driven here by where the hand should be. And the hand should be somewhere like this. And it's going to be flipping. You see how it's flipping on the side here. So now we should be seeing sort of the front of the hand a little bit. Going to snap around so we can do a full rotation. It's going to look kind of wild. So this is going to look maybe a little uncomfortable, but let's just see what it looks like when we have the thing off here. I was talking to some guys who had accessed the Disney Vault. They had access to the old animation files, and they got some of the animation files that Ward Kimball had done on the Tweedledum and Tweedledee on Alice in Wonderland back in the 1950s. They said he had the foot go like a full 360 degrees around, so it was doing things like this. That generation of animators loved doing like really ridiculous things, and see if like would anybody notice. And if it's animated well enough, like it can go right by your eye and you're not even going to feel it. You'll feel it, but you won't notice it. Anyway, let's go back here and play that through. I think it's all right. Before I do anything, I will save this. In betweens now, I guess. So let's do that. So go back to, this is where I'll probably will use onion skins because I want this to be fairly clean. So the first onion skin, and I've been kind of naughty, I haven't been drawing my frame numbers or anything, but the timing charts will be pretty much the same as we see on the body. So we'll do number 2 first, and it'll be a 1/3 favor of the one that we're coming from. So this should be a 1/3 favor of the red. It's easy to get confused with this. We're always getting confused. So this is another example where I could shift and trace. I could simply trace the hand and move it, but it's such a simple shape. Let's just draw this one. But yeah, if you ever feel like, oh, I'm starting to lose concentration, then yeah, I'm not gonna sue you if you want to shift and trace something that tight. That's one reason why a lot of the 1980s TV shows look so cheap. Everything on those were shift and traced, so you're seeing the same angle over and over again. And that kept the character on model, but it kept the animation stiff. So if I go to the next one now, I'm going to be drawing between this dark one and the green. So we might be having like a sticky elbow here, but let's just draw it and see. Maybe we get away with it. Also, this is still the rough pass, and when I tighten it down, I'll fix things like that on the tighten down pass. And I would just keep going. Yeah, this is the big swing. So we're going from here into the green one, see how far away it is. So this will be about a 1/3 favor of the red. So let's see, this one is here, that's there, arc will be about this. So the wrist should be about here. Again, I can copy that, T, rotate, something like this. And I can delete my demonstration arc thing, get rid of that. Go back to here, and now the next one would be, and I might have made a mistake there. Let's see. So I'm here. Such onion skin can distract you sometimes too. That's there. I think I put the in between maybe on the wrong favor. So I think if I move this one to that drawing, there we go. And then this would be the in between. So now as I draw in here, it'll be a bit closer to that. So that, again, that gets the pendulum back. So it's a dynamic process sometimes of going backwards and forwards, fixing things. And the only difference between what I'm doing and what I would have been doing in the 1980s is I would have been flipping sheets of paper, whereas now I'm just toggling little slugs on the timeline here. In some ways it's harder because you're fiddling with all these little bars here, but I think the savings are worth it. I think if you gave me my animation drawing desk back, I think I could find some things easier, but I don't know that overall it would be easier to do that. Okay, there we go. So now let's switch off onion and go through one by one. There we go. That's better. So let's just roll through. Feels kind of nice and snappy there. So we'll just keep going, and what I'll do is just in between right through, I will fast forward at this point and just compress this so we're not here for ages. Okay, just coming out of my fast forward to show the first stage. We're getting really close now. I'm kind of happy with this. And if there's anything sticking here, I would fix that on the tie down pass, because the margins get so small at that point that, you know, I think it's just easier to wait. But you're getting a nice feel for this now. It's looking good. So let's go in. I'll just keep going doing the rest of the in-betweens. And actually I'll be going favoring like forcing a new blank frame here and then doing this. And that way I can see, you know, exactly where I'm coming from. This in-between here will be a 1/3 favor of the red. And then this one will be a half. It'll be between. That's if I want like a very simple smooth action. Or I can make this one a half and that one a half. But, you know, you can mess around with the position yourself depending on how much of a pendulum you want. Anyway, back to the time lapse. I'm going to come out of time lapse again just to flag this. So if I were back in, say, the Don Bluth studio, you know, working on one of the features there, this kind of in between would be considered very difficult because it is. You're not just animating between, like some of these in betweens that you've seen me do are very simple. When you're going like from here to there, that anybody can draw that hand. When the animator starts leaving you bigger gaps like this, some of this begins to elevate into assistant animator territory. We would have an in-between artist for the basic tweens, a breakdown artist who is supposedly able to draw bigger gaps, and then the assistant animator this will be verging into some assistant animator territory, but occasionally you'd give it a go yourself if it would sneak through. So here the challenge is we're basically doing like a complete drawing, and I'm trying to cheat this turn from here to there, and I'm being lazy here because I'm just favoring the one we're going into, but this is a real head scratcher, and I think I should try to like fix this rotation a little better than this. So let's see here, just turn it a little bit further so it feels like it's more of an actual transition. Okay, let's see if this works. And I think I should probably do something here too, because this is going to pop. And when people say make it pop, this is not the kind of pop you want. So this one leading into it also is not quite working. So let me try to cheat that a little bit. Not cheat it, actually, maybe less cheaty. So here, from here, we're starting to turn into the side of the hand. Maybe I went the wrong way with that, actually. So I think, yes, I should be turning this further the other direction. So the hand is rotating more toward us. So if we see the thumb, it should be twisting around that way so that it comes out the other side. So the hand will be more side on at this point. I really made a rot for my own back with this. Anyway, here we go. That's a bit better. And again, I'm keeping this loose. I'm not going too far. I might actually change this one a little bit. I think it's gaining a lot of volume too, which is also throwing me. It's making the drawing process a little harder as well. But again, we only wanted to flip into this for a couple of frames and then it's gone. The other thing I might do is use our lasso tool. I know that's too big. Now it is actually maybe not, because hang on a second. It is coming out toward the camera a little bit. So we might be able to cheat that volume gain. And on this drawing, let's look at that. Yeah, this is going to stick terribly. So let's lasso that and rotate them back and onion off. Rotating, and then rotating back. So we should still see some of this business here beginning to disappear on this one. And again, look at onion skin here. So we need to make sure that this hand happens in this area here. So the other thing too, let's just draw in that. That's one thing that will really help in the world of cheating and tricking the viewer, is at least get the mass of the component in the right place. That way if the lines are wrong, at least they're moving by reasonably quick. Okay, so we swap there, we twist slightly toward the camera, and then we're twisting back again. So we should start losing some of that detail, but not all of it, so that it doesn't just pop on and off. See if this works or not. Okay, now I won't really know until I can play through. So onions off. We might be getting away with it. There might be some business happening here, but I'm going to continue through and let's just finish the rest and then we'll have a proper look at it. All right, so let's play through now that we have the whole arm thing done. There's a little bounce that happens here on the back, and it's not horrible, but I don't think I like it. So let's go in and see how we would diagnose this, because this is actually kind of cool. So we already have this notes layer here. I'm going to make a new one though, because that's going to get kind of weedy. So I'll call this one arc plots. And let's right click, layer style, and give it a color overlay. Now we could pick a different color in the paint palette, but it's actually just easier to give it its own one. So make pink. And now what I'm going to do is do a plot. So what I'm going to do is make these plots. Here, that's the contact, the passing position. I'm just going to do the main drawings first. That's the passing position. That's actually the recoil, sorry, or the down position. And this is the passing position, and number 7. And then here is number 10, that's the high point. And then we're here on number 13, which is the contact. And then we cycle back. So if I plot these, like one thing that's jumping out at me is this arc here is a little flat. We might get away with it though, but certainly we should have an arc that looks something like this. Now the thing that made it tricky, if you remember, we did this little bump on the recoil. And I think that's where our jag is happening right in there. So there's kind of a sticking happening here. So the solution are two really. One is to don't do this little overshoot and just keep it really simple swing backwards and forwards. And a lot of people do that and they're happy with that. But if you want to do something that feels a little more featurey, which I assume is why you're watching this, I think then we need to fix this. So the problem is somewhere between here and here. We need to either change the in-betweens or change the key drawings. So I think the solution is either pull the contact in or pull the recoil out a bit, or a bit of both. So let's just try a bit of both. But before I do that, I'll just do it within this window right here. So we have the contact here. Now if I change the contact here, it's going to change these two in-between drawings. And if I change the recoil here, it's going to change these. So we're probably going to have to change the in-betweens. So let's see how painful that is. So I think if we're going from this contact to here, I kind of like this contact pose, but let's just bring it in a little bit, just a little bit. Just select the arm with this tool here, put the pivot there, and just bring it in a bit. That's going to change these dots as well. So I'll be able to mess with them a bit. Just pull it in by a touch. And deselect, and we're going to take this one, lasso that, Control T, same thing here, just rotate it out a bit, makes a nicer negative shape, makes the animation look a little bouncier as well. So now these in-betweens are all wrong. This one, this one, this one. The other thing I should do as well is let's just redo the arc plot, go onto the arc plot layer and make sure that we have this right now. So that hand is there, this one is here. That's the passing position. This is the contact. That's different now, isn't it? And then this was the trouble area. So we're going to have number 16 here. And that gives us space then for our in-betweens. We're not doing any like dramatic slow in or slow out. So that should be a very easy enough movement. And then they come down to here on number 17. So you would think the arc would look a bit more like that on this. It could also swing a different way, but I think that's the most common. And then we are back into the big swing, which I think we can get away with murder in there. So as long as we have access to that, and we keep our drawings more or less aligning to this, I think we'll be okay. All right, back to the onion skin. We're on the arm layer. And now we have this guide. So again, back in the good old days of paper and pencil, we would do this not everyone did it, but those who knew what was good for them did. And then you could plot the arcs And different body parts. You could have an arc plot for hair, arc plot for a wrist point, a leg, because you can't trust your eye. You simply can't. It's too easy for your eye to trick you, and for you just to simply go blind to things that are like big mistakes that are right in front of you. And when you do this plot technique, it just pulls them out. You can really see them. So, okay. Again, I think I'm gaining a bit of volume on the hand. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm playing tricks on myself, but I will fix that on the beauty pass. I wouldn't do it now. Too much going on. So now we go back to here, make a new blank drawing, onion skin on, and this will be an easy half. And again, this plot will be to here. One thing Frank and Ollie said in the Illusion of Life book, if you have a choice between having something move without explanation or stop moving without explanation, it's better to have it moving without explanation, because nothing catches the eye more than something that stops moving. It just jumps right out at you. Whereas if everything's moving around, it's sort of over animated, then that gives you a lot more leeway. Trouble spot right there. So again, the kind of thing that we might want to fix on a later pass, but certainly a lot safer to have that jag than to have this jag. In the world of hand-drawn animation, there's a lot more cheating. That opens up possibilities too for the really wild Looney Tunes eyes popping out of heads. You don't see as much of that with puppet systems because it would break the puppet. You'd have to build an entirely new puppet. Okay, so, or at least a section of the puppet to do that. Okay, so here we have, maybe, I think we might get away with that. There to here to there to there. Yeah, fine. Okay, now let's see if that little wobble happens. It's sort of still happening. Okay, so I'm getting kind of sick of this, to be honest with you. So what I'm going to do is take this passing position here, and this was the contact. I'm going to delete the contact. So let's delete these keyframes. So now we just have the passing and we have the recoil. I'm going to swing smooth into here. And if we put on the arc plot, we still have the passing position here. And we still have the recoil position there. But instead of all this kind of stuff, I'm going to just radically simplify it. Think if we make this one just a simple, smooth arc up to here, then we have frame number 10 as our high point. Number 16 will be our recoil. We're going to make a new contact simply by virtue of drawing it here. I'm going to make it sort of like a breakdown. And, you know, it'll be our key anyway. But we're going to slow into here. So we have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 5 in-betweens that are going to go between here and here. So let's space them and in time. So if we do it like that, they get a bit sticky up there. This will be 11, 12, 13, our new contact, 14, 15, 16. So I'm going to actually space them a little more closer to half. So that'll be 11, 12, and then 13, 14, 15. So number 13 will be here. I think that will get us a smooth motion, and I would worry that we're kind of having some stickiness here, but I want these to be spaced out. So again, I might nudge these all over a little bit this way and close this gap a little bit. But for now, this is the trouble area. I'll be honest with you, I came really close to deleting this video and starting over. But I think it's good that you see the kind of the torture process, because I'd be lying to you if I said it's occasionally not really, really frightening if you get yourself painted into a corner. So I'm not 100% this will work, but I am much more confident than I was about the other fix. Let's do number 12 next. So number 12 will go here, make a new drawing, and we'll switch this off. We have the arms layer on, onion skins on. Actually, let's put this back on so I don't get too badly lost. Let's just draw our new hand in around here. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about how it integrates with the body, because I just want to be able to focus my eyes on the arm area. I can tweak this part later on. And the arc plots layer is kind of overwhelming me a little bit, so I'm going to take the opacity down so I can see what I'm doing a lot more easily now. And I think here too, I can probably just do a shift and trace. I'll favor the one we're coming from for the moment, because I really want the volumes to be locked down on this, because I've had enough problems. Thicken it a little bit. Very important that this one is right. If this one is wrong, all the other in-betweens will be wrong. So basically it's a half. Half, half, half. Nice arc. Okay. Enter, deselect, brush. And there to there. That's not too bad. And now it's just a question of going in and finishing these in-betweens. And I'm kind of being loose here now because I might change this still. But as long as this is arcing right and the volume isn't too bad, I think we'll be okay. So let's zoom out and, oh, please work. Oh, that's much better. There we go. Oh, Relief. Okay, it's not great or anything, but it looks fine. So let's put the body on, see how it behaves. It seems to play nice enough with that. Solid. We have a nice little, and you don't even see it. See if the break on the wrist here? I think I'll go through. You don't even see it. Like it's there for 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, and then it snaps back. You feel it, but you don't see it. I like that. Okay, so that gives me something reasonably solid to work with, where there's not like a really horrible mistake lurking that needs to be fixed still. Any mistakes that I'm seeing right now, like volumes rising and falling a little bit, are easy to fix. They're not too bad. Yeah, so the other thing too that I would probably just switch off the get a better feel for it as a Unity. So the other thing that you could do if you were feeling really cheaty would be probably duplicate the arm layer onto a lower level and just copy it and redraw to compensate for being the flip side. Just change the fingers to facing towards you, not away, and then offset the timing. So I'm not going to do that in this movie. I might do it in the next, because it's a handy hack to be able to do that, because it just save a lot of time, especially with a complex character if you have like a lot of details on it. Again, I'm just going to proceed through this as a very rough animation, and then we'll see, about tying it down, but we'll take it step by step and see how far we can push this little guy all the way to clean up, because I'd like to be able to see a face and hair, clothing, secondary action and all that stuff. So they're kind of cool. Okay, so here we are, my annoying little doughboy, and yeah, nothing's jumping out of me yet. Okay, Brillo. So in the next movie, I'll try to do that reverse cheat on the far side, see if that's worth bothering with or not, as that would save us some grief. And then we would move on to probably adding details, maybe tying them down a bit and then adding some details too. So it'd be nice. I'll do like a kind of a fixed pass as well. So anyway, I hope you stuck to the end, and see you in the next movie. Don't forget to join the Patreon. I will finally be, I've had a horrible 2 weeks with like family members being very unwell and me being unwell. So that's why I haven't been putting too much stuff up there. So, and all that crap is in the notes below. Like and subscribe, all the usual social media crap. Okay, see you next time.